Hey guys, so today I want to talk a little bit about some Saturn games and getting into Sega Saturn game collecting and stuff like that. I think the Saturn is a really awesome system to collect for. One of the reasons is, let me just grab one, the cases are big and they look really nice on a shelf with the kind of silver lining on the edge. It depends on the game actually, but they're real nice big cases in hard plastic. And a lot of the games are really fun. There's a lot of really crappy games too, though. It's not a terribly large library of games, so it's conceivable to collect all of them. Without some big expenditures, it's hard to get all of them, but you can certainly get some great games for cheap. And that's what I want to talk about in this video, is some actual affordable games that you can kind of get your collection jump-started with. The first one I talk about, I've already talked about in my top 5 beat-em-ups video, and that's 3 Dirty Dwarves. Again, if you can reference that video to kind of see gameplay and hear me talk about it more, but this game you can get for, see, I wrote down a few, I just checked some prices on these because I bought these a long time ago, but $20 is what I saw it going for, which I think is a pretty fair price for this game. And again, it has really good animation. The gameplay is fun, the way you switch out between your 3 dwarves on the fly, and just a real quirky sense of humor. Super fun game. I can't recommend it enough. I would love to see a sequel someday. Maybe there is a sequel and I don't know about it, but as far as I know, this is it. It's a standalone game, and yeah, it's awesome. So I recommend that one. For those on a real tight budget, you could get RoboPit. I've seen this for less than 10 bucks on eBay. I saw it for $6, buy it now price. So that is a really good deal. The way this game works, it's a kind of a ladder system. Well, first of all, it's a fighting game, but you design your robot. So you design, there's certain component parts. There's the kind of the legs, although they don't have to be legs, but the lower part, the part that moves you around. It could be a hovering type of robot that has like this helicopter whirligig kind of thing, or it could have spider-like legs, which are pretty fun, and tank treads, just normal legs, and all of those give different attributes, whereas, you know, so some of them let you jump high, some of them let you hover more, some of them let you turn quickly, or just move really fast on the ground. You can select your body, which is really just aesthetic. And then the coolest part about it is the way it works is you work your way up the ladder. I think there's 100 different robots you can fight. And as you work your way up, you beat them, then you can move on a few more, and you just kind of work your way, and you steal their arms. And the arms are the weapons of the game, and they can be anything from like this flail type thing, you know, shoots a ball on a chain and then comes back to you. Or it could be shields, or swords, cannons, all kinds of things. And when you beat them, when you beat an enemy, that is, then you can decide which one of their components you want to take. And so you can kind of amass a collection of components and decide what you want to use for each fight, which is super cool. And work your way eventually to the top, or smash your way to the top, as it says there. So this is a really good pickup. Great addition to a library, kind of a unique game, although I do think that it was released on the PlayStation as well. But for $6, that's a great pickup. Another good option that is obviously quite well known is Tomb Raider, which you can get for dirt cheap now. And this is a great 3D adventure, action-adventure kind of game with some platforming elements, and pretty much everybody knows what this series is about. But you can get it really cheap. And for a collector, it has a historical significance in that it's kind of the beginning of the series. So yeah, that's a good option. This next option, Virtua Fighter 2, is actually not gameplay-wise the game I would recommend for the system. There's another one I'm going to get to, but you can pick this up pretty cheap. And yeah, it has probably most of you played some kind of Virtua Fighter game, so you know what the gameplay is like. It's hand-to-hand combat, and it's fairly slow-paced compared to some. and it has a really weird floating kind of jumping mechanic, which I don't particularly care for. But you can get it for pretty cheap. But if you don't, or if you already have this game, or if you really just want the best fighter on the system, I would have to give that honor to Fighters Megamix, which takes Virtua Fighter 2, all the characters in there, combines them with the characters from Fighting Vipers, which is another game that I recommend. It's a good game. But if you can't afford to get both, get this game, because it basically combines the two. And it combines some of the cool arenas from Fighting Vipers, and some of the armor breaking. The way it kind of works in Fighting Vipers, you can knock people against walls and break some of their armor off, and it weakens them, and then you can take them down a little easier. So all of that is like kind of thrown together with Virtua Fighter 2 and a few moves from Virtua Fighter 3, actually, as they advertise on the back here. And it's all rolled into one game, which you can get for, I think, $10, yeah, $10 on eBay. So that's a great deal, and you get a really large list of characters and arenas to fight in. And another one I want to talk about, probably most of you know about. My copy's broken. I did not know that. That's a shame. But this is a Sega Rally. This game, obviously, for collectors, has historic significance as the series has gone on to be pretty successful. It was a fantastic Dreamcast game, and then they released Sega Rally 2006, something like that, which was another real good game. But if you like rally racing or just arcade-style racing, this is a really fun game to pick up, and you can get this one for super cheap. I mean, $5, something like that. So I recommend that game quite highly. And then the last on my affordable list of Saturn games to pick up is kind of the borderline of what I would consider affordable. If you're getting your collection going and you want to get a real gem of a game, but you don't want to pay that $200 or whatever it would take to buy something like Radiant Silvergun or Panzer Dragoon Saga, you could pick up Panzer Dragoon 5. Actually, I forgot to mention that. I picked that game up for $35, I think it was, a couple of years ago. So that's borderline affordable. But the real gem of the system that I would recommend for everybody, if you're trying to, you got a few cheap games like the ones I just mentioned, and you want to get that kind of that crown for your collection without spending $200, I recommend this. Nights into Dreams. This is just I don't know, it's a unique game. How to describe it? It's a side-scrolling, flying platformer without platforms, really. But there's a lot of really good videos and reviews of Nights, so you could probably check one of those out. But if you want to get it cheaply, you can buy it, just the game like this. And you can usually get a copy of this for somewhere around $20, I've seen. If you can spring it, I recommend that you buy this full version that includes the zoom in a little so you can see the 3D control pad, which really makes the game more fun. You can do, because the game has kind of these aerial moves that you do where you kind of fly in circles and stuff, and it's a lot smoother to do with the 3D control pad, which you can get. This is readily available on eBay for, I'm not sure, $35, $40 maybe. But that's a great gem of the collection that is still fairly affordable for being kind of the crown, or whatever you want to consider it. So those are some kind of options for you if you're trying to get your Saturn collection going and you don't want to spend a lot of money. Nobody wants to spend a lot of money. Eventually we end up doing that just because we collect the cheap ones and then we move on. But I think it's important to get a solid number of titles for your collection before you start moving to the really expensive ones, because I just think there's less enjoyment in owning one really expensive title and not having any money to buy any of the others, so you have a system in one game or a couple games. So I recommend that everybody bulk up on a lot of the cheaper games that are still quality but just aren't as rare, and then really start capping those off with the gems of the system. So Sega Saturn's awesome, and I hope you guys enjoy collecting for it. And I'm going to start doing more collection videos, because that's what I'm into. I'm into video game collecting. I had a very large collection, and then I had a big change in my life about 5 years ago. I moved to Alaska and ended up selling most of my collection, and I've sort of restarted. So I'm going to chronicle that journey, because we all love video game collecting and sharing all of that with each other. So you guys have a good one, and I'll have a new video up shortly.